the chat box as we kind of go along, and then try to answer the questions all at the very end of it. This evening we'll be hearing, like we said, from Betsy to begin with, then Chris Sook from the Heartland Community Foundation, where he will share about things that have been going on in Ellis, Trego, and Rooks County. Chris Matthews, who will be sharing with information from Decatur County, and Sarah LaRoche, who will be sharing for Osborne County. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Shara. Today is her birthday, so happy birthday, Sarah. And so with that, Betsy, I'll turn it on over to you so that you can kind of kick us off.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share, so hopefully you'll be able to see. Let's see, where is it? There it is. The PowerPoint. Is it working?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just quickly wanted to go through a little bit about, there we go, about why we're doing the Match Initiative, why it ever started in the first place. And really there were 3 goals for the initiative, and one was to help community foundations build or grow unrestricted endowments for community grants. Currently the Hanson Foundation is providing that. That may go on indefinitely. We don't know the answer to that, but either way, it's important for community foundations to have their own fund that they're building that shows the power of endowment, that really lives and breathes that aspect of what community foundations do. And unrestricted grant funds really are the best way to show what both of the roles of a community foundation are. One is to build a permanent endowment that creates ongoing grants, and the other is to make grants in their community. So that was important for us. We also wanted to recognize that local decision makers are the people that can best define their own needs and then address them. And so we wanted to help them provide a fund that would do that for them. And then also we wanted to increase local knowledge of community foundations. So if you start making grants from your foundation and then you have a good, easier campaign, I won't say a campaign that's easy, but a match makes your campaign easier, then we felt like it would begin to have people in the community step up and notice the community foundation a little bit more. So the process is pretty easy, and if you're one of the persons that also did this last year, then you'll know this, but you basically go to our website, you're going to click on grants, go click on apply for a grant, you log in with your own foundation's information. So if you're a new applicant this year, you need to get that from the person that applied before. There's an access code placed at the top of the page, and this does trip people up a little bit. So the access code at the top of the page, you enter that Match 2019, and then you go back and click on the apply button again. If you have issues with that, you can sure call our office and Kyra can help you out with that. But that is really the only place that people are struggling a little bit with the applications. They forget that they need to enter that code. And we do that because the Match Initiative is an invitation-only initiative, and other nonprofits or other folks outside of the area are not eligible to apply. The process then is you complete that application, we review it. Once it's approved by the Hanson Foundation, then we'll send you $1,500. You're able to use that for whatever you need for your program. You can use it for advertising, you can use it to help with an event, you can use it for thank you ads at the end, you can use it for postage if you're doing mailings, whatever expenses that you might have with your fundraising, that's what that money is for. And then you select a month for your match. 100% of every dollar matched for the participating foundation is matched by the Hanson Foundation up to $50,000. And then it's important to note that our matching funds and the donors matching funds all go into the same permanently restricted endowment fund. We can accept a donation of any size, and we've had some up to almost $100,000, but we only match $5,000 per donor. And the reason that we do that is because we want that third objective to be met, which is to increase the visibility of your community foundation. And if you were fortunate enough to have 1 or 2 people in your community that can just sit down and write that check, then you don't go out and create the visibility that is important to the longevity of the foundation. We also want to make sure that you know that both the donor gifts and the match are permanently endowed, again, for countywide grants. We have had questions in the past about donors want to be able to designate their grants for a specific purpose, even if they're endowed, and that's not the way this particular initiative is set up. If you raise the full $50,000, this was new last year and continues now, the foundation, the Hanson Foundation, will grant you an additional $20,000 for an operating endowment. So if you have one, that's great. We add it to that. If you don't have one, we'll have to start one. And we'll award a $5,000 spendable grant for operating needs. So it's basically a 1.5 to 1 match if you make it. And we prorate those. So if you don't make $50,000, you still get it, and it's prorated. And then, but to qualify for the bonus grants, you have to be an affiliate of either Greater Salina or Greater Northwest Kansas by the 1st of October of this year. If you have questions about that, let me know, but I think everybody that applies to is already working on that, and so that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. We're going to offer this initiative through April of 2021. So when you're working on your campaign this year and you're talking to donors, I would really ask you to maybe consider some of your donors that you feel like have the ability to make a pledge, and that makes your fundraising easier in the future years. So you can say, we're going to do this for 4 more years. Could you make a pledge of X amount per year? And then you go back and revisit them, but it's a little bit of an easier conversation at that time. Also, have a lot of people that do some great work with events, but I think almost every campaign really should have some sort of a face-to-face or person-to-person approach, because it's less work really in the long run, even though it sounds like it might be kind of scary, and it usually raises more funds. So that's just a tip. And then finally, I just want to say that we want you to be successful. So if you have questions, just call me. I'm happy to help you answer your questions. I'll try to give you the answer you want. If I don't, I'll give you the best answer that I can. But I think the important message is that we really want you to be successful. That's why we put the campaign together and put the initiative out. So feel free to give me a ring if you have questions that we don't get answered tonight. That's it for me, Nadine. Let's hear from the real people that did the work and
Okay.
stories to tell.
Thank you, Betsy. So if you want to go on ahead and stop the screen sharing, then we'll bring it back forward again.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. So with that, I think we will turn it over to Chris Sook so that he can start sharing about some of the things that the Heartland Foundation has been doing.
Thank you, Nadine. I'm going to assume everybody can hear me okay, unless you say otherwise. So as Nadine said, I'm with the Heartland Community Foundation. I've been on the board of directors there for, I think I'm going on 4.5 years. Our foundation covers Ellis, Trego, and Rooks counties, and I thought it would be helpful just to have a little bit of background about our foundation so you can consider it within the context of your own. Our foundation was formed in 2007, so we're just a little over 10 years old. One thing that we have lacked over the years is a large benefactor. If you take the Hanson Foundation out of the picture and the money that they have contributed over the years to help make our foundation successful, we have not benefited from somebody who's a community-minded individual out there who's given a large gift or even an estate gift at this point. Maybe that will happen someday. But when we had word that this matching opportunity was there were a couple of things that jumped out to us right away. One is that this is sort of an opportunity to create a large benefactor, if you will, through some sweat equity of our own and with the help of the Hanson Foundation. And so we were appreciative of that. But the second was that it was, I think, recognized universally by our board members that there was a great opportunity here that would help the future of Heartland Community Foundation, and we really needed to take advantage of that opportunity. So with that in mind, I'm happy to report, maximized our matching opportunities for all 3 of our counties in the first year in 2017. We maximized our matching opportunity in Ellis County in 2018, And to be honest with you, I think we did a bang-up job in both Trego and Rooks counties. They both went well over 80% of their potential match in times that economically have been very difficult for this area. So we are delighted with where we are 2 years in. Donations ranged from $20 to $5,000. And if you look at it in the context of the entire 2018 campaign, it was almost $136,000 among the 3 counties with 143 total donors. I think that's important in part because that'll bring you to an average of about $950 per donor. $20 gifts are great, but something closer to $1,000 average is what we have sort of targeted as, if we can get in that ballpark, we have a much better chance of success. When we have done the campaigns, we have had 12 board members. I don't know how that compares to each of you, but we have had 7 in Ellis County, 2 from Trego County, and 3 from Rooks County. And I think that does matter in the context of the different counties that we may be talking to, because we, as you'll find out here in a few minutes, we sort of relied on the county resident board members to spearhead the efforts in their respective counties. So while Ellis County hit its match, I have been called a slacker by some of the folks in Trego County because there were only 2 board members at the time who were doing the yeoman's work in Trego County, and we had 7 in Ellis County. So if you think about it, you don't have to have a lot of people who are behind the effort. You just have to have a few committed people to make this sort of a campaign work. We also have the benefit of having an executive director, which I understand most organizations do not. But our executive director is a part-time executive director, and we have 3 counties that we have to cover. So her time is split fairly significantly. And that having been said, Sandy doesn't ever stop working for us, even when she's not on the clock. So the reality is that also is a benefit that you may or may not have. And we'll talk more about that as to how it plays into the match campaign in just a minute. The first thing we did when we found out about this opportunity, other than saying, yes, we want to do it, is we chose the month of February to conduct our matching campaign. There were several different factors that went into play. A lot of them had to do with scheduling. In many ways, it may work better for you to pick a different month. There are some times we regret not being in the last quarter of the year because of the opportunity from a tax perspective that there may be some advantages. But we felt like there were so many things going on people's calendars in the last quarter of the year that we didn't want to compete with that. So we ultimately went with February, and we hoped that that would give us the benefit of beginning to talk to people before the end of the calendar year in preparation for the beginning of the next year. We have elected to keep it in February, and we, in fact, at this month's meeting, we decided to go ahead and commit for February of 19 again. Organizationally, then, we took a few steps to try to support the opportunity in the program. We chose to market the opportunity with a name. We call it the Twice as Nice campaign. In our first year, we prepared and mailed note cards and advertised the opportunity in the local Hayes Area Chamber of Commerce newsletter. We sent out and did some other local advertising as well. Thanks in part to the administrative funds that we've had added to that by the Hansen Foundation the last year, we extended those efforts a little bit. We went ahead and did a video that was created that generally talks about Heartland Community Foundation, but we used that in presentations to local organizations like the Kiwanis or the Lions Club or whatever your local organization might be. And we also posted it on our Facebook site to support HCF, and frankly, as in conjunction with talking about the matching campaign when we had an opportunity to do so. It's only a 2 or 3 minute video, but it talks a little bit about our message and what we hope to do. We then began to talk about the campaign, frankly, at every opportunity we had leading up to the campaign. So you have to make an effort, I think, to make it a talking point wherever you may be. And the importance for us was talking about the fact that this was a chance to build endowed, unrestricted, in many ways, community funds. There are many funds that we have, 40 plus within the foundation, most of which are geared toward a particular cause. These funds that are being developed with the legacy funds and the matching program are in many ways unrestricted. They give us a lot of flexibility. And so we've found that we have a lot of need, and we use that as a talking point repeatedly. We have talked about it at every public event. We take the opportunity to talk about it at the strategic doing sessions that we have been doing with the Hansen Foundation. We don't make it a long pitch by any stretch, but we do take the time to at least talk about it and say, hey, coming up in February, don't forget about us. We had each, as I said before, counties' individual board members spearhead the efforts in their own counties. There is some crossover. I mean, there are some donors who gave in more than one county, but realistically, Trego County board members talk to Trego County donors, Ellis County to Ellis County, et cetera. And then our executive director made herself available, as did other board members, frankly, to travel to any county for specific meetings with donors that the local board members thought might need some extra incentive. So there was certainly some time involved there from everybody. We used online spreadsheets through Google Docs that could be shared to create a target list of potential donors for each county. And we asked each board member to contribute a certain number of targets for the first year and to add 5 more on the second year. Everyone had access to the spreadsheets online who was on the board, and they could then update them in real time for all the other members, so we constantly knew throughout the month where we were on our goal. Each board member was responsible for contacting the donors on the list and updating them with their results. Even if it was a negative result, we wanted to know whether or not contact had been made. We found that the Google Docs doesn't work perfectly. I mean, people forget to update them. Not every board member is as diligent as others at getting around to showing them, but it gives you a starting point every year and a record you can point to each year, and frankly can give you some history on the donors years to year, or year to year rather. And that could be important information in the future as you have board members leave and new ones come on board. They may need to know a little about the history of the donor that's involved, or why the donor said no, frankly. Each board member was responsible to make contact. Originally, we said in writing first, followed by face-to-face communication. And I think most of the board members stuck with the idea that they at least sent an email ahead of time before they arranged for a face-to-face meeting. I know that I chose to do that this year. The first year I wrote letters to everybody ahead of time. This time I chose to, with most of them, do it through email to say, hey, you were involved last year, or hey, let me tell you about something we did last year, depending on whether they were somebody who had donated the previous year. And then it's just a matter of making personal contact. And you either do that through the phone or face-to-face. I prefer trying to get face-to-face, but the reality is some people are hard to catch, and if it's phone's all you can do, then that's what you do. You make the contact, you report the results, and then you scramble for more potential donors as the month goes on and you're running short. We strongly encourage you to look at your governmental and other institutions that are in your community to help set the pace by making some larger gifts if possible to help with the campaign and get it started. When the community organizations like the city of Hayes, for instance, makes a $5,000 donation, it's a whole lot easier, I think, to go to some of the other contributors in the area and say, look, the city thinks highly of this program, is taking advantage of the opportunity, and they're being supportive. And I'm not just talking about cities. You could be county governments, local, regional, economic development organizations, any other local foundation that may have some money to spin off, local hospitals or healthcare centers, and frankly, they're often, in our experience, benefactors as time goes on of grants. So we would strongly encourage you to look to those institutional donors at the beginning, certainly to help you get started. And then finally, when we are done with the campaign, we send handwritten thank yous to everybody who's donated. Our executive director makes sure everybody gets one, and then many of us as board members also send a second one that comes from us personally, thanking those donors that did donate and that we personally had approached. We think that recognition is key to keeping people involved, and then keeping them updated on what has happened with the donations that they've made and the difference that it's made by continuing to have the conversation about how we have given grants, I think is important. Real quickly, I asked several of our board members to send any comments or advice that they would pass along, and I got a few comments that I'll just pass along to you. One is that one person needs to be the point person on your board. Whether they are an executive director or a board member, that person needs to be somebody who is updating board members during the campaign a couple times a week and sometimes more. And our executive director has affectionately referred to that person as the nag. Others may call him or her a cheerleader. Either way, somebody's got to be willing to make people accountable to the list. Second is don't get discouraged. Sometimes you have to talk to donors 2 or 3 times during the month. People are busy and they forget. And you will probably have to follow up with some of those folks more than one time. And that's just part of it. If you have the opportunity to leverage donors with like-minded donors, for example, we have a doctor who provides a $1,000 donation. If there's another doctor in town that is got a good relationship with that doctor, and you can go to them and say, hey, this doc did this for the matching fund. Would you match them? Sometimes the match on a more personal level might mean more than what the Hansen Foundation's match means to somebody who would be donating. And then I had a comment here that that it's important that you have a board that gets it. The reality is that when I was first recruited to be on this board, the sales job was that there really wasn't that much to do, and you didn't have to attend more than one meeting a month and so on and so forth. Well, the reality is that raising funds is hard, and you have to have people who are committed to spending some time to do it. And you have to build each other up a little bit along the way, because there's going to be rejection and there's going to be some frustration as it happens, and you just got to stay with it. The last point I guess I would make is that people need to be constantly reminded of the need. As part of this program, we have a chance to build a very substantial endowment, thanks to the generosity of the Hansen Foundation and the hard work and generosity of our donors. And this will make a lasting impression for a long time. We have Hansen money that we give twice a year that has been invaluable for organizations in our communities. And the reality is we just finished the spring grant cycle not that long ago, and the ask was much bigger than what we had to give. And there were worthy grants that we had to turn away. And that is the message that I think you want to convey as you're talking about what you're building going into the future. And that's all I have. Thanks for letting me drone on for a while.
Okay, well, thank you, Chris. You had some really good ideas there that you shared. So at this time, we'll turn it on over to Chris Matthews so he can talk about some of the stories from Decatur County. And don't forget to unmute yourself, Chris.
Can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Apologize for being outside. I got some kids running around here. The only other thing I could do is lock myself in the bathroom, and you guys don't want that. So, yeah, we're going to talk about things that we've done over the past 2 years for the match month. First thing I want to say is that this is a really good idea that Hansen came up with to build a different foundation, right, for the future, for our county. Something that we have not done before. There's counties in our areas that have a foundation This gave us an opportunity to build our own. So one of the first things that we did is we looked at doing some kind of a video production. The video production, we turned it over to our local high school. There's a video media teacher that did and continues to do a fantastic job putting a 3 to 4 minute presentation together with pictures, slideshows of all of the different towns in our county. The things that they focused on were things that have grown. So what we chose for our local foundation is called GROW, Growing Rural Opportunities Within, GROW. And so we chose GROW because we wanted to grow our county. We wanted to grow in population. We wanted to grow in many different areas. So we turned it over to them, and we tried to focus on things that Hanson has done in the past, things that we have granted in the past for them. We had a livestock barn at the fair. We had statues. We had AEDs, things that were healthcare related or not, things that Hanson had donated. So we tried to focus the video on ways in which Decatur County was growing. And so this video that we put together, we took it out to all of the service clubs. So whether it was Rotary, Alpha B Keys, the museum, ladies, I mean, there's probably 40 or 50 different clubs in our county that board members took this video to. And then they passed out brochures that we had, and we asked them to think about donating in our match month. We looked at the match month, and I think this was probably April, May, and we knew that we needed some time to get this thing going. And so we chose December as our match month. And so we weren't sure if December was the right time, but that's kind of where we went. I think that it has been beneficial being in December with people that are trying to donate money to get their tax allocations, but I don't know that exactly. But it has been fairly substantial. The very first year, 2016, we met 100 and I want to say $113,000, more than $113,000 in the very first year that we did that. And then Hanson matched the 50 grand on top of it. And then the following year we did the same. We did a little bit different. Our focus, the next video that we did for this last year's match month, focused on professionals and families that are from here or may not be from here, but they moved back to our area. And so maybe they're starting new businesses, maybe they're doing different things or taking over a lot of different other opportunities. We try to focus on why they're coming back to the area and how they're helping us grow. And so with that, we made our match. We ended up with over $66,000 just in total contributions. So the high school really helped us out with giving us a video that we would take out to athletic events, and we would take them to Rotaries. We showed them in our show building. So like in our theaters, in the advertisements, then that little 3 to 4 minute production would go right before the movie started. We had brochures that we put out in many different areas, and to make sure people that knew that, hey, here's an opportunity to donate. Obviously with social media, we had the Facebook that we went live. We started kicking a lot of links out to all of the social media, Facebook and stuff. We also selectively mailed different brochures to people that we knew that would donate. And so we gave them those donations. We partnered with our local newspaper. The local newspaper did a fantastic job of keeping track of wherever you needed to go, and so they had like a little thermometer, and they would track all of our stuff. So where we were at, whether it was 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000, every week that thing would come out in the paper on the front page in the lower bottom. But they also had little coupons in the paper that would be a Grow Foundation donation. So anybody in the newspaper just cut one of those things out, put their donation on it, mail it right back into us, and we would be able to take that thing on. Decatur County, one of the things that we do is we do a parade of lights on the Friday after Thanksgiving. That's when Santa Claus comes to town for the kids, riding on a fire truck. But we don't do a parade during our local county fair, but we do a parade of lights parade. So one of the things that Grow did is that we had a float in the parade to talk about Grow and to be out there. They also did shopping nights, so our board members would grab a grill. We would do pork burgers or beef burgers, brats, hot dogs, and we would cook for the community. And we just do a free will donation for anybody that would like to donate just straight up cash, even though that's anonymous and they don't get any tax write-off, or it's an opportunity for them to say, here's a real opportunity for you to put your name on there and to do that. So those are some of the things that we have done. I would have to say the media, the video production has most likely been the best for us, just because it's quick and easy to pull up on YouTube and you just show it. So you can view it 2 years, 3 years down the road, and you can pull it up in any meeting or anything that you got going on. So some of those things have been some of our best successes.
Okay, you have had some really good success. I don't remember if we said this at the very beginning, but your foundation is 2 years old now, is that correct?
Yeah, we started when Hanson, like I said, this is a great idea for Hanson to get a new foundation that has not, built themselves from the ground up. So we took advantage of the opportunity from Hanson. And so, yeah, we started the very day that we were able to. Same board members that are part of Hanson are the same board members that are part of the Grow Foundation in order to build an endowment. And this is the first year that we're able to give small grants from Grow that are different than Hanson, based on our match month. So it's been just an awesome opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, so then we'll turn it over to you, Sarah. I'll let you unmute yourself and I will pull up the PowerPoint for you.
Well, I'm not entirely sure that I will have anything to report that you guys already haven't heard before. Being the last one to present, there's been a lot of wonderful ideas and recommendations. I'll tell you a little bit about our history of our foundation, because I think that does play a big role into our success and why we were successful. We did get started with this campaign as well. Betsy was making rounds around, and I give her lots of praise for coming to our small town and presenting about the Dane Hanson initiatives. And at that meeting, it was just a handful of individuals. We all heard what initiatives there were, but at the end of it, I asked, so what can we do with these initiatives? And there was not much we could do because we did not have a foundation. So we started having countywide meetings, and at all countywide meetings, the first meeting is highly attended. There's lots of interest. And as the meetings go on, interest dies down. We did establish from those meetings the faithful few that were called our steering committee that helped us run a campaign. We sought advice from Dane G. Hanson Foundation, the Greater Salina Community Foundation, about how do we get started and what do we do. We ended up deciding that we would run both of our founders campaign and this match initiative simultaneously. And I think that was very successful for our foundation. So our first year that we did, next slide, Nadine. And the next one. Our first year, we did a breakfast in each of the 5 communities. We had a 7 to 8 a.m. breakfast. We hosted a nice meal in each of the 5 communities. Although Alton and Portis are very small, we still felt that they deserved their own breakfast in their communities. And they were highly attended. with a lot of interest and desire for what is this, what are you doing? We did do a whole month-long campaign, and the majority of funds were stressfully received at the last week of the month. However, we asked for our founders that they would be those that would contribute $5,000 or more, and we received a significant amount of founders our first year. And we did get a founder from each of the 5 communities. So no matter how big or small the community was, we really thought that was very powerful that each of the 5 communities had a founder participate. We did have a few things going good for us. Brush Art Corporation is located in Downs, Kansas in Osborne County, and they had individuals on the steering committee, and they completed all of our artwork, all of our printing, all of our design, everything for our campaign. And you can see on the top of the screen there that our campaign logo, we also did it in February, and we called it Love Your County Campaign 2017. And when we did our first year campaign, we didn't know it would be a multiple year campaign. So I also think that also attributed to a lot of the success. People gave large amounts, and we did have quite a few founders. We also asked the schools to contribute to do a competition. We do have 3 schools within Osborne County. 2 of those schools are split between our county and another county, so it gets a little bit tricky of support to a countywide foundation. But we did 2 prizes, a most raised per student per district and a most raised per student per class. And each of the years that we've done this, different school districts and different classes have won. So that is nice to see that. And at the last day of February 2017, we held a big fundraiser at Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut really was not prepared for the support that Osborne County had to show. There was lines, blocks and blocks and blocks. Pizza Hut had the best day of the entire year on our fundraiser campaign. Next screen, Nadine. So our year 1 in review, like I said, we got our foundation started. So we had a lot to do our first year. We had to do board elections, and the board members that were elected to the board were not the same individuals that were part of the steering committee. Some of them remained the same, others did not. They were very excited and passionate about getting it going, but they did not want a commitment of being a board member. We went through all the bylaws, policies. We had to figure out an affiliate agreement. Also at that time, Dainty Hansen started the Strategic Doing. We provided a grant writing workshop as a community education event for our counties just to improve the quality of grants that we received. We also did multiple press releases and was very active and involved with our local newspaper. And we did events for each of the alumni events in all the 5 communities. Next one, Nadine. In addition, we also did our founder recognition in year 1. Year 2, we changed our logo slightly. Instead of the Love Your County Campaign 2017, we did Love Your County Sustainability Campaign. So we knew there would be a multi-year campaign at that time. And so we changed all of our promotional material. Calico Hill Creative from Downs, Kansas was a different marketing group. The individual used to work for Brush Art. Brush Art was really helpful in our year 1, and they provided all of the documents for Calico Hill Creative to change and edit. But we did seek a different volunteer the second year to get that accomplished. So we did ask all of our pledge cards on multi-year pledge cards. We did meals in each community instead of breakfasts in each community. Right or wrong, we changed it up a little bit. We also did another month-long campaign, and the same story. Majority of the donations were received in the last week of the month. And again, we did have donors from each of the 5 communities. Osborne Industries was another big player for our success of this campaign. They allowed us to print material for us at a very affordable rate. And then the school competition again. And this year, instead of having a fundraising event the last day, we decided to do an educational event the last day with legacy gifting, and that was widely received well. Next slide. So our second year was less stressful. We didn't have as much to do, but we still tried to be very active and proactive and being a leader in Osborne County. We started ripple effect mapping, and that was really powerful for the community to see what impact the foundation's Dainty Hansen has had on Osborne County, and what would it look like if this foundation was extremely successful as well. We also did first impressions, strategic doing, more community education. We attended all the alumni events again. We did the Pass Through Dane Hansen cleanup grants, and our county applied for multiple of those. We still recognize the founders in different ways, and we started planning for year 3, knowing that this was a multi-year commitment. So this is just a chart for visual purposes of the gifting per year. The green is the $50,000 match from Dane G. Hansen. The blue is just general contributions from Osborne County individuals. And then the brown in year 1 was our founders campaign. So that shows how successful and what the impact our founders campaign had on year 1 success. But then year 2, we had a different strategy. We didn't want individuals to give and it to be stressful. We wanted individuals to give what they could sustainably give for future years. So our goal was 50 to 60,000. We reached just over 60,000 in our second year. So we have had a little evolution as a new foundation. We're kind of learning as we go. But our year 1, we really wanted to build our foundation upon county-wide support. Making sure that every community, regardless how big or small, had a voice and that they were equally represented on the board. So we have a 10-member board. So we have 2 individuals from each of the 5 communities in Osborne County. So we really felt that was a key with not only our foundation success, but the success of Osborne County and as a county as a whole. Year 2, our goals were a little bit different. We needed to show our purpose. Not only were we collecting money, but that we were also being leaders within our county and community. And we felt that we received a lot of loyalty from our donors through that. Year 3, our plan this next year is a little bit different. We're going to try to show more appreciation. We learned a little bit about giving thanks. So this last year, we did a thank you from Greater Salina Community Foundation right after their contribution was received. We also do personal thank yous from the board. Every board member signs those personal thank yous. And then we also do a paid thank you in the newspaper. This year, we spread those out over a 6-month period. So individuals were thanked multiple times at multiple different times in the year. And so this next year, we're going to try to expand our donor base and include those that may not be able to give a substantial amount, maybe not even give $50 that would receive a receipt, but try to expand our donor base. Realize that those $20 contributions add up. And if we can expand our donor base, we really have more support from the county and communities. So we'll decide what we do for year 4 and year 5. I think we just kind of go as we learn. And so we've had a lot of lessons learned. In the first couple years, we've done meals. The first year they were widely successful. People were interested. It was new. They were asking questions. They wanted to attend and figure out what this was about. Year 2, we changed the meal times and days. We did a lot of Sunday noon meals. They were not attended well. And it was a lot of work on our foundation board to put on these meals and not be very successful. I don't think we'll continue that moving forward. I think we'll do maybe a barbecue, like you said, or a coffee or something else too. But we want to do something in each of the 5 communities. We don't exactly know what that looks like, but we want to do something. But we do know it's not going to be a meal. We did a month-long campaign, and I think we will continue to do this, even though it is a stress and burden on our volunteer board. We do not have an executive director. We're all volunteers. And having those funds received the last week of the month after you've worked and contacted so many different people throughout the month, but really just allowing those individuals that flexibility and time and not pressuring them into giving a contribution, making them make sure that they feel good about what they're doing. So we will continue doing that month-long campaign. And we did do specific recognition. Our founders that gave in year 1 that $5,000 or greater, they will be recognized indefinitely. We have decided to do something similar for our sustainability campaign. Those donors that give every year for those 5 consecutive years will be recognized as a sustainer. So we may see the negative effects of this indefinite recognition later on, but at this time we feel that those individuals that have a passion for this foundation really do need to be recognized. So with that, I don't have anything monumental to share or to say. Nothing that our foundation really was so brilliant about doing, but I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. So at this time, we will open it up for questions from you. You have either the option you can unmute yourself and directly ask a question, or you can type it into the chat box and we will try to answer those questions. We did have one question early, which would pertain to the Heartland Foundation, and that was whether or not the Hanson funds were distributed for each of the 3 counties. And I believe you did answer that, but you might want to clarify that, please.
Yes, we had separate matching pools for each county. Each county had the opportunity to match up to $50,000 the first year, or $50,000 plus the additional administrative match the second year. And so we really treated it almost as though it was 3 different campaigns going on at one time.
Thank you. Other questions? Well, as we wait here to see if there's any other questions that come in, here, let's see. For each county, what was the single most successful thing they felt they did that you will continue? So Chris Sook, if you want to start out, then we'll go to Chris Matthews and then to Sarah.
I would say the single most successful thing was a willingness to hear somebody say no, for a couple of reasons, and I'm serious about this. One is you have to ask in order to have somebody say no. And the second thing is, even when we hear no, we're planting a seed with somebody later. We're educating them about the foundation. So a no today could be a yes tomorrow. And I think you just have to be willing to take that leap, I guess, would be what I would say.
From Decatur County, I would say the most successful thing that we did was prepare the video and try and get things out there in a positive light so that we didn't have to talk. It was just something that was more of a production. Gave a feel-good moment to things that our county is moving forward with, the reason why a foundation is important, because it lays the groundwork for not only ourselves, but our children's and our children's children. So I'd say the video has been most likely the most successful thing that we put our time and effort to.
Thank you. Sarah?
I think ours is a combination of the previous 2 answers. One is our board is very active and very involved in this process. Each of the 10 board members does a tremendous amount of work in asking door to door, asking every individual they know in their community face to face. A lot of those face to face interactions is what gives us the contributions. And secondly, we do a very good job about telling our story as well and showing projector slides and PowerPoint slides about all the projects that we've funded, as well as allowing our name to be in the newspaper multiple times. We have a retired English teacher that writes our press releases for us in the newspaper, so gladly publishes those. Our community is very well aware of what we do, and so when we go out there and asking for funds, it's not new to them why they're giving. So it's a little bit of both telling your story well, and not being afraid to ask face to face.
And I'm going to add on to that just a little bit, Sarah. One of the probably most positive things that has happened for Osborne County as a result of the campaigns and the formation of the foundation is a cooperative spirit that has happened between the 5 communities. Previously, there have been a lot of bickering back and forth between communities, and there was always those hometown rivalries back and forth between the communities, and we're seeing a lot of that die. And so as the communities are starting to work together more, it's just that spirit of everybody coming together that's been really powerful for us. Let's see, any other questions anyone has? If not, I want to give a plug for our next webinar that'll be coming up. It will be on Tuesday, August the 14th, and it is on crowdfunding and capital campaigns. We'll have Nancy Wolf and Betty Johnson speaking that evening. Both of them have extensive knowledge in capital campaign funding. And the other portion of that will be with the crowdfunding, where we will have Josie Heller talking that evening, Josie Hammer, sorry, about the crowdfunding sources that we have available to us that we could possibly be using. So if there are not any other questions at this point in time, I really would like to thank Betsy, Sarah, Chris, and Chris for presenting tonight. I think this has been very beneficial. Some of the key things that I heard as far as some things that we could all take away are the importance of maybe creating that video to help share your story a little more, the use of some spreadsheets with the contacts and the use of Google Docs and some of those types of things. Going to your city councils and some of your agencies, governmental agencies, and asking them for support to help you with things. Having a one-person point person to be named. Having the challenge matches between maybe some of your different professionals here in town. The use of a theme for your campaigns, and what Decatur County has done where they call theirs GROW, Growing Rural Opportunities from Within. That's pretty powerful. The newspaper thermometers. Lots of good ideas shared this evening. And so if any of you have questions, we can get the information out to you. As we said before, this is being recorded, and so we'll send the link out to you for the recording, and you'll be able to share it with your other board members and other folks that are helping you with some of the fundraising campaigns. And so if there's no final comments here, I'd like to thank you all for participating this evening, and we'll end it with that. Thank you.